life is organic. We're dealing with other people. There are a lot of variables at stake. Can I adjust? And for me, that thought, no matter what happens, I can adjust and I'll figure it out. And I have what it takes is something that drives confidence. And so I can be in situations where there's unknowns and there's a little bit of risk involved and still lean into it because I'm anchoring to my ability to adjust rather than to perform perfectly. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
And then what's your lens around it? So like, are you pessimistic? So when things don't go as planned, is the first thought, I knew this wasn't going to go as planned, like something bad's going to happen? Or is it like, oh, hell yeah, like what's the next best thing that could possibly happen right now? And so optimism is part of what we would call psychological framework. And I know there's some people listening that when I said optimism, they thought rainbows and ponies and fluffy stuffed animals, and that's not the case. When I think about optimism, I think about special forces operators being dropped into who knows where in the middle of the world, in the middle of the night, and right away things don't go as planned. They've done all of the training. They've done the simulations to prepare. In that situation, do they have the choice to think, well, I knew this wasn't going to go as planned. We're screwed. No, they don't. They don't have that luxury, right? Because their lives are on the line. So for them, it's like, okay, what's the next best option? And so I look at optimism as something that gives us options, the belief that something good is going to happen, right? It gives us options. It keeps us nimble. It allows us to adjust, to stay open to possibilities, to problem solving. And so when I see people who adjust really well, regardless of what's going on, it's because there's a sense that something good could take place and they're able to stay in it for that. And if we look at research around people who are most resilient, they also tend to be high on a scale of optimism. And it's because they're able to shift their attention and their focus when they're in adverse situations to the opportunity in those situations. And they're also able to just approach it with more of a balanced perspective, so that it's not that people who are optimistic, for example, they don't get frustrated or pissed off. They do. Right? But they're able to use a wider range of emotions in managing through those situations, that challenge, that transition, that adversity, so that they can bounce back more easily. So for me, understanding where we derive confidence from. Are your thoughts building confidence? Are they breaking down confidence? What is your lens towards doing difficult things? Like, do you love challenge? When things get really hard, are you like, oh, hell yeah? Or is it like, man, this sucks, we're here again? If that's the case, like, that's a trainable skill as well. And then just going back to this idea of can you be present when you're in the thick of things? Can you just be in it and have a balanced sense of perspective?
Right. That's so interesting. I've always had a kind of visceral sort of reaction to positivity and optimism, right? And when it just doesn't resonate, like, oh, just think positively and everything will work out. It's like, that never kind of works. And I think a lot of my listeners as well, we're also into risk and uncertainty. And so part of us, we like to think about, scenarios of things and, what could go wrong and, that kind of stuff. But what you talk about to me is like a skill. This is it's actually very practical. So about, shifting, refocusing, getting to option B as quickly as possible, all of that stuff makes perfect sense. So it's quite different from this sort of, as you say, the rainbows and unicorns and stuff, that it's not just hoping that something's that there's some basis that you're anchoring the optimism to.
That's right. So here's the thing is, like, if you want to anchor to, like, let's say for confidence, I do difficult things, say that's a thought that generates confidence for you. And then, like, I can be in difficult things and I'll be okay. That's an optimistic thought, right? If you don't do difficult things on a regular basis, you have no reason to believe that.
Right.
So if you're not getting uncomfortable regularly, then you can't anchor to that thought, So there is a difference between naive optimism and realistic optimism. Right. And I do want to delineate the difference between positive thoughts and productive thoughts. Like, optimism does not have to be fluffy. In fact, our thoughts that drive confidence, they don't have to feel good either. Like, my colleague Courtney, like, when things are hard for her, she's like, shit, I'm in it, But that's productive for her.
Right.
Versus, my God, it's just one of those days.
Yeah.
Right. That sounds very different. So the question is like, is it working for you? And if it's not working for you, you are in control of your thoughts, whether you're good at it or not.
Right.
You know, like you have the ability to change the way you think about it and really anchor to a reason why that thought that you're going to is credible and more optimal in that moment, so that you can do difficult things for long periods of time.